Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have another very interesting and unusual for this channel upload. Today I go to the farm where the Ouija board incident occurred, and I've not been there for 20-something years. Also, I've got some terrifying encounters to share with you as well. Before we get into that, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright guys, I am at my family's old barn. I've not been here in 20-something years. Like I said, my cousin died who owned this. His father owned it, his father's father owned it, and it's gone into a state of disrepair now. So this used to be all fields, and this is the barn. This was all 20 years of nature retaking this. This used to be a road, dirt road. That was corn and hay field. We alternated every year. This is the barn where everything happened. I'll go in there in a minute. This is one of the entrances to the hayloft where whatever was up there when I was up there tried to grab me. That's where we parked the tractors, like I told you guys in that one video. It's tractors all throughout there. Old hay wagons. Wow, it's real hard to be down here right now. Friggin', this was my childhood. And this is not what it looked like. And my uncle and my cousin are rolling over in their graves right now. So I'm going in the barn right now. Oh, God. This is fucking scary. This is the barn. Right over there, that door right there, was the silo entrance, the ensilage pit. It looks like that's boarded over. That one piece is boarded over where the hayloft used to be. There it is, right there. We pull that down. Oh my God. So, this is where we would play Ouija. Right here. This was the cow stanchions down here. Well, that was cow stanchions too. Wow, it's so weird being down here and scary. So we would play Ouija right here at the end of the day. And when we were playing Ouija, it would say Zozo, Zozo, Zozo. And down where that fan is, there was plastic over it. And that's where we saw like some sort of demon head imprint, I guess. So we were playing for, the whole summer down here doing this. And this is crazy. And so we would play, and we were kids, and we were dumb kids. I mean, like I said in the original video, we were listening to Slayer and thinking we were hardcore, and we didn't know anything about anything. And whatever we summoned or screwed with that night, or those nights, haunted us for the rest of our lives. It told us that we were all going to die, and that we would see the hounds of hell. And like I said, my cousin, both of them are dead. My friend Nick is spiritually and emotionally dead. And I was diagnosed with a terminal illness and almost died and had my Dogman encounter. Melvin, my cousin, said he dreamt about the hounds of hell. I don't know about John. Nick said he saw some really big dogs, and I'll bring you to the road where he said he saw that. But this is so strange. I've not been here in so long. God, it's just unbelievable how much this has changed. So, when we got the blood from one of the piglets, it was out of this pen right here. And we put it on the Ouija board. And that was our biggest mistake. That was not good. This was not like this growing up. So fucking crazy. So I'm gonna leave the barn now. And show you a little bit more of what I can show you guys. But that, like I said, that was the hayloft. That was the hayloft entrance, one of them. There was another one on the back of the barn and one in the middle where that hand reached out for me. Ugh. This was an old building. Nothing really happened in there. But this is the road that we'd come down. And this is the road that Nick, or Nicky as we called him, said he saw some sort of hound of hell, big dog, black dog. I don't know what it was. I wasn't there. There's another entrance to the hayloft. It's another entrance to the barn. This used to be open. Well, this big door was there. This building was just like a storage building. Nothing happened in it. But my uncle, growing up, there used to be a pig pen way at the end. I don't know if you can see a road. I'm on this road, but there used to be a road that went along that tree line. And there was a legend of the little blue man, which was a small, little humanoid. My uncle said it glowed. He saw it when he was a kid. My cousin, who owned this farm after my great uncle died, was tragically killed. He was working on a tractor trailer, or the tractor part. It's freezing out here right now. It's 40 degrees. Something happened with the brakes and it crushed him. My cousin JR, or John, got cancer and died. And like I said, Nick is just spiritually and emotionally dead. He's probably sick as well with his choice of lifestyle. We saw a lot of weird stuff down in here as well. That door right there is where I showed you the fan. And when we looked down that way, it looked like a demon head. And like I said, this was all before Zozo and everything. And it just kept saying, OZ, OZ, OZ. Sorry, the sun came out. I don't know if this is going to affect the camera footage or not. I'll go back to where it's shaded more. But yeah, this is, what the hell's up there? This is where everything took place. I will not go up that ladder. I remember when I was probably 12, when I was 12, I went up that ladder and there was a bee's nest. And I got stung on the top of my head and I had to drop down. But that's when we all saw that hand reach out in the nests or whatever the hell were up there. My dad's house is a 16th of a mile away from here. My uncle and my dad both came with guns. Both went in the backside of the barn up into the hayloft. Like I said, there was no lights up there because of, fire hazard. But yeah, so that's why I believe that summer, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, 89, 90, no later than 91, we were messing with something we shouldn't have. And we all paid a price. So, yeah, on location. Man, I don't know if it's because it's cold or because I'm actually terrified, but that's the entrance to the back of the barn. Right here, where my dad and my uncle went up. They jumped up onto that. There used to be a stairs to go up. The silo was right here, attached to the barn where the insulage was. It was a big old silo. It was wooden. The base was cement, large circular cement base. And then there was just wooden slats. I mean, we're talking this farm was built in the 40s. Probably later, 30s. And this was not like this when I grew up. But yeah, so on location at where I sealed my fate. But I don't think if I did what I did that night, I don't think my life would go the way it was. And I don't think I'd have a YouTube channel. So I'm going to take one more look in the barn and call it a day. I got to go under a tree, whatever the hell that is. Oh, God. Just being in here is sends chills down my spine. I don't like being in here anymore. All right. Well, now that I was on location at where it all happened. Oh, look at this. Hang on. There's gonna be an old truck going down the road right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There it is. Old yellow Ford. So, yeah, this was not like this. This is so weird. All right, guys. I'm going to end it right here because I can't be here anymore. It's just way too creepy. That window was never like that. There was always hay stacked against it. Whoa. All right. I'll have a couple other stories after this. Thanks for coming here with me. Next place will be on location where I had my Dogman encounter. Today's second part of the upload. This was told to me by a childhood bestie uncle during a family gathering in the early 90s. They were a huge family and always had cookouts and gatherings, often inviting friends from church or work. So there would be always a nice crowd, and sometimes it went into the evening. That night, some of the men there were police officers, and they were trading stories. While the grown-ups were talking, we pretended we were sitting nearby talking kid stuff, but I noticed the grown-ups' tones kind of change, and I turned to listen. So for some context, we were in a small town right at the edge of the two different tribal reservations. The sheriff's office usually patrolled a 30-minute stretch of res that bordered the two different tribal lands. It is a flat forest that is beautiful during the day but scary as hell at night. There's one gas station / grocery in the little community right in the middle of this 30-minute drive. It closes at, I'd say, 9 p.m. every night. At around 11, one of the sheriffs got a call over the radio to check something out just south of the community. Now that area was the most isolated, and there were very few people that lived there. There were no street lights other than some out in the stretch of lands where people lived. So this part was dark, very dark. The officer went out to the area. I don't remember if he found the problem. My vague memory is thinking it had to do with a fence down or something, which is bad because some people have herds of sheep, cow, horses, so that could cause an accident. He took care of business and started back towards town. He had only driven maybe a mile when he saw a man walking on the side of the road. Again, on the stretch of road, it's so dark, even people can be hit by a car. So the officer stopped to at least get the guy home. The man was young, quiet, and he had long black hair. His clothes were old and dirty. Often there were hitchhikers that would go from that area of our town to hit the bars and hitchhike home. But this man was going in a direction towards town, which was weird because it's past midnight by now. Nothing's open. The officer tried to get the man's address, but the man just said, "Take me down the road. I'll tell you when you stop." And it was toward our town, and the little community was also ahead, so that was probably where he was headed. The sheriff had a truck. When one picks up a hiker, they climb in the back and hit the window when their destination is reached. The officer said, "All right, jump in," and started down the road. While driving, he took a look back to see the man's black hair. After time went by, the man wasn't knocking on the window, and they had passed the community, and the houses were very few. The officer decided to look back at the man again, and he was gone. Now, if he was drunk, which he didn't seem to be when they spoke, he probably passed out and missed his turn. He pulls over thinking he's going to wake this guy up. He looks in the bed of the truck and there's no one there. The cop is like, what the hell? Tell me he didn't jump out. He's got to be drunk. Cop turns around and tries to backtrack. He passed the community again, but didn't see anyone lying on the road or sitting or even walking. Turns into a gas station and kind of tells dispatch about it and then decides just to head back to town. While he's driving, he says that he started to hear a knocking on the truck. It wasn't the back window, and at the gas station, which had lights, even though closed, he did a double check for the passed out man. The knocking continues and he keeps driving but starts to look out his mirrors, and he swears he sees this wolf-like figure at the right side of the truck running alongside it on its hind legs, banging on the side by now. He's going 55 or 60 at this point, and this creature didn't look like it had any problem staying at that pace and hitting the truck. The officer swerved and overcorrected, but got control and stopped. But he stopped for a second just to check his doors and get his wits, and then hauled ass. He stated that he was going 80 or 90 and the road can be curved, so the speed limit's 55. He was so terrified and so relieved when he went over the little hill to our town and saw the city lights. I'll never forget this story, and I drove that road rarely, but never at night. Today's third part of the upload is an experience or encounter that happened in my neck of the woods, just north of me, about 45 minutes to an hour. There's a town that my family, my mom's brother, my uncle, and my mom, my dad, all my cousins, we'd go up there and rent 3 or 4 cabins. My aunt and uncle had a lot of kids. They had 5 kids. I was the only kid. Friends of the family would come. It was a good time every summer, and we'd stay in this little town called Speculator. Beautiful, in the middle of the Adirondacks. Well, this encounter comes from that neck of the woods. I was staying with my brother and my dad at a cabin on a hunting retreat in the upper part of New York, near Speculator. We'd gone out there to hunt deer during the 2016 black powder season. I was up late sharpening knives for the dressing and cooking of anything we managed to take. It was 2 a.m., and I was getting ready to go to sleep once I finished the last knife. I saw the security light outside flick on, and got up to go look and see what it was. We're not allowed to take deer at night, but I figured there was no harm in just looking at one, seeing which way it went. That way I could track it tomorrow. And if it wasn't a deer, it'd still be nice to see the local wildlife before I retired for the night. So I look out the window and I see these 2 huge coyote-looking dogs with huge heads outside on all fours. Initially, I thought they were coy wolves, a hybrid between a coyote and a large dog, which happens sometimes in this area. So I watched these things sniff around. We'd grilled some hot dogs earlier. They must have come looking for the smell. I watched them for a few minutes, and then one of them does this weird jittering motion. It sort of stretched its hind legs out one at a time, and even though the glass was there, I could hear this popping sound, a really horrible sound. This thing did one leg, then another, and then it sort of rolled its shoulders, making another popping sound, and stood up on its hind legs. We had put our bags of deer scent and stuff into a tree, like you would to keep bears out, tied it up in the tree. It reaches up, grabs the bag, and pulls it down. This thing rips it open and tears through it. It finds the deer urine in there and sniffs it and seems almost angry, throws it into the wall of the cabin. At this point, it spots me. This thing looks right at me, locks eyes, and The second one stands up on its hind legs now. They look at me for a few seconds, staring me down. I literally thought I was going to die. They seemed angry. I had seen them or upset about it. They turned and ran off, still on their hind legs. I broke down crying, locked myself in the bathroom, and refused to leave the cabin for the rest of the trip. I stayed there and dressed and cooked the deer. I wouldn't go outside and actually covered the window in my bedroom because I was convinced I was going to wake up with one of them staring in at me. I estimate both creatures at about 8.5 feet tall. I couldn't see their genitals on either one. They had green luminous eyes and were colored like coyote, tan and gray on the back and whiter cream bellies. They had tufts at the end of their ears like a bobcat, long tails like a wolf's tail, fluffy like that. Today's fourth part of the upload. Around 2 years ago, myself and my fiance were heading to my parents' cottage in the little town of Brighton. I'd say it's about 100 kilometers east of Oshawa, Ontario. I'd been building this 95 5-liter Mustang that we were driving at the time since I was 15. I pulled off, my fiance and I, at the Brighton exit and made a left. We were probably driving around for like 10 minutes and something on my left peripheral of my eye. Something was traveling along the side of the road in the forest while we were doing around 60 kilometers. I asked my fiance, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing right now?" That something is moving as fast as we're moving. So me, I work in corrections. So a lot of things really don't get to me. I have a 5 double D flashlight in my car, and me being the tough guy that I am, I pulled my Mustang over to the side of the road. Keep in mind it's around 1 in the morning because I had just finished shift and headed out after that. No lights, nothing. This thing, when I stopped my car, it stopped as well. I jump out of the vehicle. My fiance is telling me to get back in the car. And no more than 20 feet away from me is something standing there. This canine, it almost looked like a werewolf to me and my fiance. She's native and she's saying whatever that thing we are looking at, it looked right at me. I look right at it, or at it, him, what? I couldn't tell if it was a him or not. I didn't see genitals, but we looked at each other and I just got this faint feeling something's wrong. And it looked at me and it let out this noise and then ran back into the forest. I jumped back into my Mustang and drove to my parents' cottage and told my dad and my mom everything that had happened. My fiance is native once again. She was talking about how there are these people called skinwalkers and sometimes they take the form during the night. They are cursed, their bloodline are cursed, and during the day they come back. And that's just a little story I had. It's always been a cottage conversation, and we always looked to the side of the road when we were driving there, and we have not seen it since. This thing was walking on its hind legs, had pointed ears and a snout. The thing is, my 110-pound Rottweiler was in the back, Mia. She didn't even give out a yelp. She just looked in the general direction, as well as my girlfriend. As I got out of the car, I was very afraid. I deal with inmates all day who commit heinous crimes, and I couldn't believe my eyes. What I saw and the guys at work, they thought I was hallucinating, but to this day, I swear, that thing was there. Today's final encounter comes to us from Canada, Ontario. A Kenora man witnessed on one occasion stones being thrown by an invisible assailant, and on another occasion what appeared to be a humanoid creature near both Ignis, Ontario, and Welcome Channel on Lake of the Woods in mid-2004. Large rocks came flying out of the bush on the island. Some hit the ground and rolled into the lake, and others hit the water, said the Kenora man. His name's Mike. The rocks in question were approximately 10 to 15 pounds. Fauna indigenous to the Kenora region near the Lake of the Woods that are comparable to humans in size are elk and black bear. The witness noted that he suspected his brother, but later discovered that his brother was about a mile away from the place of the stones being thrown. I won't rule out a bear, but I feel it's improbable, said Mike. Black bears run from 100 to 150 pounds for the females. Males range to 150 to 400. The animal can be 4 to 6 feet high. Elk measure from anywhere to 4 feet tall to 6 feet long. On a second occasion, Mike witnessed 4 human-like figures crossing a boggy area outside of Ignis, Ontario. 2 were larger than the others, and all of the figures appeared to be large in stature. Lake of the Woods was first settled back in 1860 when the Hudson Bay Company moved a post from Winnipeg River. Before the introduction of Europeans and trade, native groups such as the Ojibwe inhabited the area. The Ojibwe have several legends, including one of a trickster named Manabazo, a giant hare that brought life to the region and sometimes mean to the fauna in the area. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I apologize for if anything was wrong with the first part of the upload, me being at the barn. I'm still trying to get used to making videos on location. Also, it was very hard for me to be there. That place looked nothing like it did 20 to 30 years ago. I mean, it was my playground. There were always 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers and dogs running around, and my cousin and my uncle, and we always had fun down there. We always worked really hard, but it was so beautiful back in the day. And today I couldn't believe how nature took over and turned such a meaningful place in my life as a child into what it looked like. And then when I walked into the barn, it was just very terrifying. During the video, while I was making it and I was showing you where we were playing Ouija, the crazy thing is there was a black milk crate on the floor. And we used to sit on those milk crates and we'd put the Ouija on a milk crate and play. It was very strange being there. I did not like being there. And I don't think I'll go back just because it's just too hard for me. Too many memories that got drug up today. Especially how scary those nights were playing with that Ouija board. I don't know anymore. Yeah, so I'm gonna do some more on location. I got a couple really interesting spots picked out. I'm gonna go. My next one will be where I had my encounter. I'm gonna nut up and shut up and make that video for you guys. So with that, I want to thank everybody for always tuning in, for all of the support. It truly means everything to me. And I really hope that everybody can be kind to one another. And with that, may the Great Spirit watch over all of us and guide us through our path of life. And with that, my friends, farewell.